Hi, everybody. I'm Jeff,
And I'm Linda.
and welcome to the Paranormal Pub Table, where we talk about the paranormal at a pub table. Going on to a little bit about this past weekend. All
Yes.
right, so an interesting case we had up there in Surrey, Virginia,
Yeah.
where speaking of having your house haunted, and this
Right.
case brings about a good question. Because we went to a man's house who, and this video is posted on our YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
He was seeing multiple spirits. Now, at first, there was a
Yes.
couple that he recognized. They were of his family
Mm-hmm.
that had come to kind of bring him a warning. Like, hey,
Right.
slow down because you're doing
Stop
too
working so
much.
hard.
Stop
Yes.
working so hard. It's going to be very bad on your health.
Right.
But then random spirits started coming throughout the house.
Right.
Right? And these were some spirits that he would see a couple times, but it
Yeah.
seemed like some of them were just passing spirits. And
Yes.
we get a lot of cases like this where people will see, they won't see the same spirit twice.
Mm-hmm.
They'll see multiple spirits and they'll come and they'll go and there'll be different spirits every time.
Right.
What do you think the reason for this is?
I think that there are people that are more in tune with the spiritual world than other people are, and some people may call them sensitives. There's a lot of terms for them, but I think that this man in particular was one of those that probably was a sensitive. Not only did he have a lot of people around him in life that cared about him and loved him, and people that had then passed on and were willing to come back and warn him as he was about to get sick and say, "Hey, you need to slow down. You need to take it easy. You're going to die, if you don't slow down and take things a little bit slower." He was one of those type A personalities where he just wanted to be on the go 24/7. He told us himself that he just didn't like to sit down. And that was a good indicator right there. The fact that he didn't know it at the time, he had black mold throughout his entire home. And he had been breathing it into his lungs, that made him very sick. And I think that the spirits that are around us, if we form a lot of really good relationships with people in life when they're living, we also have good relationships when they've passed on. It just so happens that this man knows a lot of people who had passed on, whether it be in his family or friends of his or business acquaintances who knew him and respected him and loved him. And because of that reason, they were willing to come back from beyond the veil and to come into his life and say, "Hey, here's a warning for you. You need to slow down. You need to take it easy. You need to start taking care of yourself a little bit better because we don't want to see you on our side."
Now, you mentioned him being that beacon of light, right?
Mm-hmm.
A sensitive of sorts.
Yes.
And a lot of these people that are sensitive, they don't necessarily even realize that they are. They
Yes.
grow up seeing things their entire lives and hearing things. And I've talked to some of them that say, just like I can see you standing in front of me, that's how I can see these spirits. It's
Right.
just as clear as you are to me.
Yes.
What do you think? Is there a certain point in somebody's life that this switch is flipped? Where, because some of these people now, I've talked to
Mm-hmm.
both ends of the spectrum. I've talked to some people that their entire life, from the time they were a kid, their earliest memory, there was always spirits there.
Right.
There were always things there that they were seeing that other people weren't seeing.
Yes.
But there are some people who seem to have come into this in the middle age,
Right.
the middle of their life. All of a sudden, they start seeing these spirits.
Right. I I think a lot of that has to do with your environment. Growing up, of course, if you're in the type of house that I was raised in, where it's not an old house, the property was, before the houses were built there, were not necessarily used for anything specific. There wasn't a farm on that land. There wasn't Civil War activity. It's one of those homes where you just don't find that it's very haunted and in general. But, you have that factor where it could be something from the external environment. It could be the fact that your home is not as haunted. Maybe you move into a different place like this man did, into an area like Surrey 14, 15 years ago. And all of a sudden you start feeling this paranormal activity around you. You start experiencing things. And it's because you've moved onto a piece of land that it was inhabited by Native Americans, actively inhabited. And then after that, you start to realize that people around you who you've loved and known in life have passed away. There could be factors like that cause you to start experiencing things more often in the middle of your life than you did at the beginning. But there's also things like a change of life. You have to consider that perhaps there is something spiritual that happens within people that causes them to have a little bit more of an awakening or a little bit more of an open mind than they did when they were a little bit younger. Perhaps it's something like, just a hormonal change or some sort of change in the aspect of the way that you live and the way that you see things that causes you to be a little more open to these things as well.
Now, I'm going to make some more enemies because I always tend to do that no matter what.
You open your fat mouth.
I open my mouth and people hate me all of a sudden for certain things that I say,
Nobody's
like,
ever hated you. They hate me because
no,
I say things.
No,
Yeah.
like the gas scrub and ghost episode, we're driving along and I'm like, oh, there's a lot of Trump signs out here. And people are like, oh, I hate you, you're racist. And I was like,
Yeah.
I mentioned a Trump
true.
sign, I'm sorry. But this is going to get some haters on here, but
Right.
so hear me out, okay? And I'm not saying this is a stereotype for everybody that has these abilities,
Right.
okay? But I am saying this as a possibility that I believe, okay? I believe the devil is real,
Right.
and there are demons that are out here doing work in our lives trying to bring us down.
Oh, yeah.
And I believe a lot of times when somebody just comes upon this sensitivity to be able to see spirits,
Right.
I believe it's demons.
Demons.
I believe
Yes.
they have a demonic attachment because
That's possible.
many of these people,
Very
most of these people who haven't grown up with it that I've talked to, most of the people that come about it somewhere in their life, in the middle of their life, and they
Yeah.
start seeing these spirits, they're very afraid of it.
Oh, yeah.
They don't want anything to do with it. They're not happy with it.
Right. Right.
And that fear is, of course, something that these demons feed off of.
Absolutely. That's true.
So I wonder, I'm just saying I wonder in a lot of cases if someone could get a demonic attachment.
Oh, yeah.
And these demons, the way they work is amazing. I mean, there's no
Yeah.
way that the brightest minds on earth could even argue with these demons, or they'd get
Right.
out argued. If that's a word,
Yes.
that's a word. It is now.
Out-argued,
It is
yeah.
now. He got
Hyphenated,
get
maybe.
out argued.
Hyphenated.
Out hyphen argued.
Yes.
Right. So, so thinking of it like that, okay, there's numerous reasons that a demon would want to, and demons have attached themselves to people,
Yes.
and given people strange abilities.
Right.
And there are numerous reasons that a demon would want to do this. For one, to scare you,
Right.
because the more afraid you are, the more it opens that gap for them to get in, okay? But also, there's another thing called misplaced faith. And I'm not sure if I coined that. I haven't heard it anywhere, but I've mentioned it quite a few times. Where if someone is certain of the afterlife and
Right.
how it looks, they're not going to need to have as much faith in God.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's yeah.
Because if I can sit here and I say, hey, I have seen into the afterlife, there's no hell. There's just spirits wandering around us.
Right.
Right? I'm really not agreeing with what the Bible said there.
Right.
You know, I'm really not leaving that room for faith in the question of the afterlife. What happens to me when I die? Only
Right.
my faith in God will protect me at that point.
So you believe the spirits are bringing that to them, that idea of what they know what happens after death.
No, I believe if a demon is attaching to this person
Mm-hmm.
and letting them see these spirits wandering around the earth, it's going to cause doubt in them that there is a hell or that there is a
Oh,
heaven. And it's going to
yes.
cause them to believe that, well, I've seen spirits wandering around. Everyone's just wandering around here.
Right.
So
Right.
everything that the Bible taught is wrong.
Right.
And that's going to cause them. And also, the more that they exercise this third eye,
Yes.
right?
If that is such a thing,
The
yes.
less that they're going to need. The third eye refers to the eye of the mind that can
Right.
see
They
into
can
the
see,
spiritual
yeah.
realm. But the less they're going to call blindly upon God on that blind faith
Right.
because they feel they have a complete understanding of the afterlife, which
Absolutely,
really
yeah.
no human should have
Yeah. That's
because that
absolutely
really
right.
kind of closes the gap for faith there.
Right. Right.
So, a couple of theories.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? As to why demons would do that. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying that's in all the cases. I'm just saying there's a possibility
It
that
is the
some of these cases
possibility.
are
Yeah.
involving something like
It's
that.
a distinct possibility because we know that demons are incredibly intelligent. They will sit for many years and watch you and try to figure out your weaknesses, try to figure out your strengths. They want to try to figure out how to infiltrate your life, how to affect you the most. So there are, lots of factors that come in with the demons. I mean, they could really be sitting there scheming against you for years.
Right.
And they might just find that one window of opportunity to be able to come into your life. And perhaps it is to make you think that your house is haunted. And we don't always know, of course, the motives of demons. We know that they want to cause chaos, they want to pull you away from God and away from Jesus. They want you to not know those teachings, right?
Yeah, right.
That's
Absolutely.
we believe that is what their ultimate goal is, but the way that they carry that out is a great mystery to
It
us.
really is. It really is. But another thing, you think about it, these multiple spirits that come
Mm-hmm.
through people's houses. We've talked about the possibility of demons. We've talked about the possibility of just somebody kind of opening that third eye, the mind's eye, and the reasons for it.
Right.
I'm not saying it's all demonic, so don't hate.
Yeah.
But I will say this that I think is interesting. A lot of cases that we get called in on, the people believe there is what's called a portal.
Right.
Okay. And a portal is basically, it, depending on how you interpret it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But a doorway
Right.
between an opening in the veil
Yes.
where the living can come across into our realm. Some people look at a portal as something that goes straight to hell and allows demons to come in.
Right.
It depends on how you interpret it, how you look at it, what your beliefs are.
Yeah. Yeah.
But basically, a portal is a doorway for spirits. Whether
Yeah.
you want to believe they're demons, whether you want to believe they're human spirits,
Yes.
it's a doorway for them to come into our realm.
Right.
And there's a lot of cases where these people are seeing these random spirits,
Mm-hmm.
and it could very well be because there's a portal there.
That's true.
And I say this person that's seeing these spirits may not even be sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact of the matter is, it's once again in timing
Right.
because
Yes.
you would have to spend forever there. We've gone out. I remember
Yeah.
going down to a woman's house in Suffolk, Virginia, and she was just seeing all these random spirits. She saw like a half naked
Yes.
woman and, a bunch of
Yeah.
other spirits that were coming through.
Right.
And when we were there, she didn't see any of the spirits coming through.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So being that we weren't there when if we're there and she sees the spirits coming through and we don't see them,
Right.
we don't pick up any evidence, we could say, okay, maybe she's sensitive and maybe she's the only one that can see them.
Right.
But if we're there when it happens and we
Mm-hmm.
could see them too, it doesn't mean she's sensitive. It means that there is quite possibly a portal there,
Some,
a doorway there
yes.
where all these random spirits are just passing through into our
Yeah.
realm, and any person that is there will be able to see them,
Right.
sensitive or not.
Exactly. Yes. That's exactly right. There are a lot, and there are a lot of instances like that, I have to say, where there are cases where we think that a person is not sensitive. They're experiencing a lot. They're experiencing a lot of activity in their homes, and we go in and we're able to capture maybe a little bit of evidence, maybe no evidence at all, maybe a lot of evidence in certain cases. And that's one of the things that is just kind of interesting about the paranormal field, is that it's always open. You don't know whether there's environmental factors. You don't know whether there are factors that play in because of the people that are there, being, whether it be the clients or whether it be us, the investigators
Right,
that we
right.
bring. Everything is a factor here. Everything is one of those things that is sort of a control in the environment, in the scientific environment that you're doing this experiment in. And it's kind of interesting the way that it all plays out. And the only way that we can track this or try to understand it is by repeated experience. And because you've been doing this since 2008, me for the past like 5 or 6 years now, you've come to start realizing that there are certain patterns to things.
Right.
And that's when it gets really good, I think.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And I will say one thing I've learned is with the talking about random spirits that
Mm-hmm.
people see is being there when it happens, because there's been some cases where people would see random spirits and the whole time we were there they didn't see anything.
Yes.
So we weren't able to verify, is this something that just they're seeing,
Mm-hmm.
or is it something that anyone that's here could see?
Right.
Likewise, I've been at a case where, and I remember one specifically up near Richmond where there was a
Mm-hmm.
blind woman, and she was seeing the spirits as we were there. So being
Oh,
that we
yeah.
were there and she was seeing the spirits, we
Yes.
knew at that point that this woman was the only person that could see them.
Oh,
They were
okay.
either in her third eye,
Yeah.
in her mind's eye, or in her mind.
Right.
And
Right.
that's a discussion for a whole other thing, whether it's
Yeah.
actually something we're seeing or something that's in our mind.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, you can classify these cases,
Mm-hmm.
because you can say if you're there doing the investigation and the client is seeing a ghost while you're there and you're not seeing that ghost, you can determine that, hey, the client is the only one that can see this.
Yes.
Whether it's a mental issue or whether it's, something to do with being sensitive,
Exactly.
like I said,
Yes.
that's a topic for a whole other discussion.
Yeah.
But at least you can categorize it into that, okay? Either
Mm-hmm.
we're there, we can see it when it happens.
Yeah.
We're there, it didn't happen when we were there. Or
Right.
we're there, it happened and we couldn't see it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And these are ways that you can classify these random spirits.
Yes, absolutely. And as far as the subject of trying to figure out whether or not your house was haunted, something we were talking about just a little while ago, it's there's so much that plays into this, and that's what I find, like I said, fascinating about this. You have the history of your home, the history of your land. You don't know what factors these things play, whether or not there actually is a lot of history. Who knows whether somebody died on your piece of land 200 years ago? Who knows what kind of tragic event this death might have entailed, or whether it was a peaceful death. And that's the kind of thing that sometimes is not documented in history books, particular pieces of land, particular homes. And that's the one thing that I find the most fascinating. It's almost like a big mystery.
Yeah,
And we're trying to
absolutely.
unravel this mystery. We're trying to take as many clues, we're trying to take as many pieces of the puzzle as we can, put them together, and try to see what the picture is supposed to be. And that's kind of the most fascinating thing for me in the paranormal. And people, we meet so many different people, so many different walks of life. There are so many pieces of the puzzle and
Right.
puzzles to be put together.
Right.
And it's constantly a different puzzle.
Absolutely. So if you've had experience with random spirits, We'd love to hear your experience.
Yes.
I promise I'm not going to break out the cross and the holy water and say you're possessed or demonically oppressed.
Well, he might.
I'm not going to do that.
No,
I'm just saying, like when I was saying that earlier, like I said, that's just a possibility in
Right.
some cases, not
Yes,
all the
not
cases.
all
So
the
please
cases.
understand me. I'm not saying that's all everything.
Yeah.
I'm just saying there are demons at work, and
Right.
that is one thing they could do. That is
Absolutely.
one explanation for it. Mm-hmm. Though there are many others.
Yes.
Okay. But I want to thank you all for joining us here at the Paranormal Pub Table. Until next time, I'm Jeff.
And I'm Linda.
And we hope that you'll listen to our podcast.
Yep.
And check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Virginia Paranormal.
Yes.
Where there's much more to see in the dark.